The Galactic Combat League had existed for 3 millennia, spanning 17 star systems and featuring warriors from 43 species. In all that time, no rule had been changed more frequently than the weapon restrictions. What began as a simple, no projectile weapons rule had evolved into a complex codex that filled 3 data crystals. Commander Zix-9 of the Hegemony Council reviewed the latest amendment with his 4 eyes, each blinking independently as he processed the implications. The human representative, Ambassador Sarah Chen, sat across from him in the council chamber, her expression unreadable. "You understand," Zix-9 clicked through his translator, "that this prohibition includes all manufactured implements of violence? Plasma swords, neural disruptors, even traditional bladed weapons?" "Crystal clear," Chen replied, her voice carrying that peculiar human quality the Galactic League had learned to recognize as dangerous calm. "Our champion will compete under these new regulations." The amendment had been rushed through after humanity's previous champion, Marcus Ironwall Rodriguez, had decimated the competition using nothing but a simple steel combat knife. The Zephyrian representative had been particularly vocal about how primitive human metallurgy gave them an unfair advantage, despite the knife being standard League equipment. Now, 3 months later, the arena on Nexus Prime buzzed with anticipation. The amphitheater could hold 2 million spectators, and every seat was filled. Beings from across the galaxy had come to witness what many considered humanity's inevitable humiliation. In the preparation chamber beneath the arena, Captain Elena Vasquez stretched her shoulders and rolled her neck. At 5'6", she was unremarkable by human standards. Lean muscle over a compact frame, dark hair pulled back in a practical ponytail, scars on her knuckles that spoke of experience. To the alien spectators watching through the viewing panels, she looked absurdly fragile. "Final inspection," announced referee KLKT7, his insectoid appendages methodically scanning Elena's body with detection equipment. No metal implants, no synthetic enhancements, no hidden weapons. Each negative reading seemed to amuse the gathered alien officials more. Elena's opponent entered the adjacent chamber, Gorath the Destroyer, champion of the Kryn Empire. 8 feet tall, covered in natural bone plates with arms that could crush a shuttle's hull. He had won 17 consecutive matches, each ending with his opponent's complete incapacitation. The Kryn communicated through subsonic rumbles, and Gorath's arrival made the floor vibrate with what could only be described as laughter. The arena floor was a perfect circle, 200 meters across, surrounded by an energy barrier that could contain a small fusion explosion. As the 2 champions emerged from opposite tunnels, the crowd's noise became deafening, a mixture of cheers, roars, clicks, and harmonic tones from species whose vocal cords defied human understanding. "Warriors!" The announcer's voice, artificially amplified and translated into 43 languages simultaneously, echoed across the arena. "By the ancient laws of combat and the new restrictions of the Hegemony Council, you will fight with only what nature gave you." Gorath raised his massive arms, bone spurs gleaming under the arena lights. The crowd responded with approval. Here was a creature built for this moment, a walking weapon that needed no tools. Elena simply nodded and began walking toward the center of the arena. The starting horn sounded. Gorath charged immediately, his strategy obvious and brutal. At his size and speed, one connecting blow would end the match. Elena waited until the last possible second, then dropped low and rolled left. Gorath's massive fist struck the arena floor where she had been standing, cracking the reinforced surface. What happened next would be analyzed by xenobiologists for decades. Elena came up from her roll directly beside Gorath's planted leg and struck his knee joint with her elbow. The impact produced a sound like snapping timber that carried clearly through the arena's acoustics. Gorath stumbled but swung wildly with his other arm. Elena ducked, stepped inside his reach, and drove her knee upward into what her research had identified as the Kryn equivalent of a solar plexus. Gorath doubled over, gasping. Elena grabbed 2 of his bone spurs, used them as handholds, and brought her knee up again, this time into his face. The crack of his nasal cartilage breaking echoed through the sudden silence of the arena. The Kryn warrior staggered backward, blue blood streaming from his nose. He had never been hurt in combat before. His bone plates had always been sufficient protection. But Elena wasn't trying to break through armor. She was exploiting the gaps that every biological creature necessarily possessed. Gorath roared and swung again, this time catching Elena's shoulder and sending her spinning. She rolled with the impact, came up 30 feet away and wiped blood from her mouth. The crowd began to murmur. Surely this was where human fragility would show itself. Instead, Elena smiled. She had spent 6 months studying recordings of Kryn anatomy, learning from xenobiologists who had never considered their research might have combat applications. She knew that Gorath's bone plates, while nearly impregnable, were connected by cartilage that could be torn. She knew that his impressive reach came at the cost of balance. Most importantly, she knew that no creature in the galaxy had developed defenses against the one weapon that humans had refined beyond all others, their own bodies. Elena moved forward again, but this time she didn't wait for Gorath to attack. She feinted left, then dove right, sliding between his legs and striking upward at the soft tissue behind his knee. As he turned to follow her movement, she was already moving again, striking nerve clusters, joint connections, and pressure points that millions of years of human warfare had taught her species to find and exploit. Gorath began to slow, then to stumble. Finally, 10 minutes after the match began, the 8-foot Kryn warrior collapsed face first onto the arena floor, his nervous system temporarily shut down by a precise strike to the base of his skull. The arena fell silent. Elena stood over her opponent, breathing hard but victorious. She looked up at the stunned faces in the crowd, then at the official's booth where Zix-9 sat frozen in shock. "You wanted to see what humans could do without weapons," she called out, her voice carrying clearly in the silence. "This is what we are when we don't have tools to make us soft." The crowd erupted. Later in the post-match interview, a Zephyrian journalist asked Elena how humanity had developed such effective hand-to-hand combat techniques. Elena's answer would become legendary. "We didn't develop them for fighting aliens. We developed them for fighting each other. You just gave us a bigger arena." Within a week, the Galactic Combat League quietly disbanded. Some competitions, they realized, were never meant to be fair.